Trigger warning, we are going to talk about unaliving, depression and anxiety. So if you know that you're at a very fragile state right now, please don't watch this video because I do not want to get into trouble with your family and friends. Hi, so I'm going to talk about my experience with depression. And can you guys not come here with the theory of what depression is? Like when you come and say depression, mental illness is a chemical imbalance. No, I am going to be practical and talk about what I went through, what I was feeling. And I do not want anybody listening to this video and comparing themselves to me or thinking, why is mine not like this? Depression is different for everyone. So let me get into it. I wrote some of the stuff because I think you've noticed that if I don't have a script, I tend to ramble. Then it's 15 minutes and I don't want to do that. So I had been living with depression since my teenagehood. And unfortunately, it was because of an attempted unaliving that it was discovered, and that was in 2011. I don't know how old I was. I was born in 1989. And before that, I had never wanted to live. And people always said, "You're so bubbly, you're such a nice person, you're so caring." And in my heart, I'm going, so what? Yes, I'm pretty. Yes, I've got a beautiful smile. Yes, I've got 2 parents. So what? You know? Because the feeling of depression is internal. And that is why even people with lots of money get depression, because it's not an external thing. Yes, there may be a contribution of the environment that you're in, or some kind of trauma, or for instance, losing a child, losing somebody close in your life, complex trauma that could also contribute to the depression. And let me just swiftly deter and say I was diagnosed with complex trauma because of the environment that I was in. So things just the same thing kept happening, the same thing kept happening, the same thing kept happening. And I think when in 2013 was the first time I spoke about being essayed. First it was by my cousin. That's molestation, right? Yes. And then it was by a friend's boyfriend. Thank God he passed away. But yes, it was only in 2013, and so it was only 2 years since I had been diagnosed, for me to start talking about these things. And I'm so glad that I had the blessing of being at Tara Hospital, and like I've said, I've been with my psychiatrist for 13 years, so that helped. So these are the key things of when I was going through depression. So I say, I promise I'm not going to cry. I promise, I promised myself that I'm not going to cry. Okay, so yes, it's true. When people are like, "No, you're so selfish, but think about your child," especially the child. "Think about your mother." No, I don't want to live, so don't force me, because I never asked to be here. I don't understand. I never understood why people felt the need to keep saying, "You're selfish. We love you." I don't care. I don't care. You love me, but then that doesn't mean I must want to live. That doesn't mean that now I have to please you and, not consider what I'm going through. And that's depression, I mean. And please note that this is back then, not now. And people would be like, but we love you. I don't care. like with depression, you care about nothing. You care about nothing, and everything pisses you off. Everything just, digs the hole deeper in you. And the more people kept like, it was like, oh my goodness, like I just want to run away from this place. And then I say, I never asked to be here. And yeah, I know that I'm a blessing to my parents, but still, I never asked to be here. And it takes time to remind myself and comprehend that it's not about humans. It's not about our parents. It is about God. I know people are going to say, hey, God, you don't think about them when you're depressed. Now I look at it and I'm thinking it's never about the people that are coming here and saying, the human beings, and that are coming here and saying, blah, 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 we love you and whatnot. It is about God. And it is the time when at the time, I didn't realize, but also it got me. There were times, obviously, where I go like, God, what's happening? That is not a prayer. Please, I'm not praying. I'm just pissed. Like, why? Like, stray bullet, come. Like, taxi, but just take me, not the other people. Yeah, but at the time I wasn't driving, so it was a taxi. And I remember when I was in high school, I used to have panic attacks, and one of my friends just reminded me, it's like, you used to have panic attacks. And it is so sad that we didn't know about panic attacks and depression back then. I finished matric in 2006. And by the time I was diagnosed, people were already going like, oh, we wish we knew about this thing, then we could have helped you. We could have helped you better. And it never helped the fact that there was no money. Not that I didn't have money, and I'm not saying the environment I was in should have been rich. No, there was just no money for basic things. And that hurts your self-esteem. And I think with my self-esteem being non-existent is the reason why I ended up doing things I didn't want to do, because I was trying to seem like I have a healthy self-esteem. And then number 2, sometimes I never wanted to be, I never wanted to be a productive member of society. It's actually easier to be depressed. It was actually easier for me to be depressed because no accountability, no consequences, no responsibility, because living is a lot of work. Not just with yourself, like you have, for example, toiletries, but you've got goals, if you've got a child, there's children. But when you are in depression, you don't, like I said, you don't even think about that. So, but my psychiatrist said to me, I would rather have you depressed than you being in a manic phase. Okay, with bipolar, there's the manic phase, there's the high, and the depression, there's the low. And my psychiatrist said, I would rather have you depressed than manic, because all the times you've tried to unalive yourself, you were manic. And when I look at it, when I am depressed, I'm just like, but then when I'm manic, because I have the energy, that's where I got the strength to be, to find a way to unalive myself, as opposed to when I was depressed. So me being depressed means not much is required from a person who's useless. So I wanted to be useless so that people don't have expectations of me. Because now if they have expectations, what does it mean? It means I must deliver. I don't want to deliver. And anyway, who's going to deliver? Because there's nothing inside. Who's going? We work with the inside. Even the Bible says it's the soul. And the soul is non-existent when you're in depression. Instead, the soul is somewhere in the grave. And now you are just waiting for the body to go and follow the soul. I hope that makes sense, because it's a feeling of nothing. So the soul has left. And with my depression, I felt like I was longing for something, but I didn't know what it is, and I didn't want to. Because if I continued longing for something that I didn't know what it was, and then it forced me to force myself to want to live, and I didn't want to do that. So it was a bit, it's a bit complicated. It's a bit complicated, but I hope I am making sense. And then I said it was harder. Yes, it was harder living than wanting to not live. With every breath, I hoped it would be my last. Like, then I don't breathe again. That's how much I wanted to leave the world. And I am looking at people, and I'm despising these people because they are breathing properly. They want to breathe. There are people in hospital going like, God, please save my life. Yet I am here saying, God, maybe I'm lying because I didn't really focus on God at the time. But I am saying, could I be the one in that hospital? Could I be the one who is brain dead? And then they ask my family to come and pull the plug. Like, I was thinking of anything just to, because now I had already, in 2013, it was my second attempt to unalive myself. So now I'm thinking, this thing is not working. What about a train? But I'm thinking, and I know people are gonna come for me for this. I'm thinking, I do not want to be mincemeat. That's the thing. I was not logical at the things that were serious. I was logical at things that I was not supposed to be logical about. Because when you're in depression, the only thing you think about is leaving. And yes, I didn't want to, because I know people are going to come for me. I didn't want to be a mincemeat. I wanted the body, full body, to be with the soul. And again, I did not want to die a painful death, because that will be twice the pain for the people that are left behind. I didn't have a kid. And I think with this useless, finding it easier to be useless, for me, that is why when I got married, when I had my son, when I got my own home, my own car, and I was now this wonderful woman who just has this nice life. I've never dreamt of any of those stuff. I never dreamt of any of those stuff, because I never thought I'd get to 36. I never thought I'd even get to 25. Then my psychiatrist said, please get to 30 just for me, because you are my best project, And at the time she had, she had now saved me from 3 unaliving attempts. And she said, okay, fine, you can be depressed, but can you try to get to 30 and let's see how things will go. And when I got to 30, when was it? 2017, I think. When I got to 13, I was already with my husband. But then also it took me a long time to comprehend that this is the life, because I never asked for it. I wanted to be useless. So yes, that is the part about me not wanting to live. And with every breath, I hated it. I hated it. I despised every breath that I took. And like I say, I hope it was going to be, and then it doesn't come back. Okay, and then number 3, environment is very important. Please, let's not breed because we can. Of course, a new human being is added in the world. However, mentally, psychologically, is that benefiting the child? Because also for me, it was the environment, and unfortunately, I can't get into that. I don't want to lose my family members. It was the environment, and there's another thing that was pissing me off, that I never asked to live, and now I am in this situation. How do I get out? Because I never even asked to be in this situation. Like, okay, fine. Why don't you guys force me to live and give me a better life? Why don't you guys force me to live and be able to afford deodorant? Like, guys, I was not cutting my hair because I look good in it. I was cutting it because there was no money to relax my hair. I don't know how many times I went to school. Like, half the time I was not, like, the number of days I was absent. You know, and I was in a multiracial school, and so you can imagine what that does to your self-esteem. So it was my question, and I asked my psychologist, I'm like, okay, fine, the people who are forcing me to live, can they make the living better for me than what I'm living now? Of course they can't. Of course they couldn't. And this applies, the breeding, this applies to everyone, parent and guardians, and let me make it clear, I'm not saying married people do not get depression, or their kids get, or or it makes them exempt from their kids getting depression. Hence I said you need to be mentally and psychologically healthy. So okay, I grew up very disadvantaged, and I'm going to say this and again. Ooh-wee. Yes, I had pretty light-skinned privilege, and it helped in a lot of circumstances, in a lot of situations. For example, as much as people went clued up about what mental illness is, I got a lot of sympathy. I got a lot of sympathy, and people would always start with, oh my goodness, you're so pretty to be depressed. Oh my goodness, you're so pretty to want to unalive yourself. So there is light-skinned pretty privilege. And also I have my cousin that I had to, get the story, like put things into, like, getting into perspective, because people were like, yeah, well, now you've always wanted to be white, and I couldn't explain it back then. But then I had to go back to my cousin, and I said to my cousin, I didn't want to be white, because me wanting to be white didn't mean that I didn't want to be black, or yes, I didn't want to be black, but meaning that I hate the black society, or I hate the black people. I was thinking that already when you are black, there's a lot of chance that you grow up at a disadvantaged. And now think about it. I'm already disadvantaged, and then I have mental illness. So I was thinking, and this is something that people don't understand, because now people are thinking, no, you don't like black people. No, I love black people. Let me not even say that, because if I'm over-explaining myself. So at least if I was white, there's more chances of being born into an advantageous environment. At least if I was white, I'd be depressed, but I'd still be able to go overseas for holidays. I'm depressed, but at least I'm going to a private school. I'm depressed, but at least for my birthday, I'm getting a Gucci handbag. And that has nothing to do with me not liking black people. And I know a lot of people kept saying, oh, you want to be so white so bad, you want to be white so bad. And then when I was out of the depression, I had to go to my cousin, who actually, I think, resented me for the fact that I always said, I wish I was white, I wish I was white. And still today, he doesn't want to get it. For him, that I wish I was white is enough for him. But for me, disadvantaged and depressed, think about it. So what did I learn from living with depression almost all my life? Nothing positive. I'm not going to turn it into custard, because it's not, and it's not even near jelly. It is horrible. And there's nothing for me to glamorize and say, I learned this from having depression. No, I learned nothing. besides pain. That's the only thing I never want to go through that pain again. I never want to go through that pain again. And guys, I know people say with every situation there's a lesson. For me, there was no lesson. What lesson am I getting from being depressed, from being so hurt, from not being able to control my mind, to be in control of my mind? There's nothing I'm learning from that. And I'm not going to come here and say, hey, I learned that you must be positive. Hey, you must, I learned nothing. Please. Excuse me. Depression is harder when it's adopted from the environment, because I couldn't control, because I couldn't control the environment nor the people. So there was no escape for me. Hence I say, if I was rich, I would just pack my bags and go to New Zealand or something, go live in Ghana, but no. And people think it's like the movies where you just pack and live in your car, live in your skorokoro, and juggling 3 jobs, and that's in the movies, guys. That is in the movies. Otherwise, if it was like that, if you could just escape the environment, if you could just not force yourself to be positive, but then say, at least I'm going to strive for something. I'm going to try to find my purpose. I'm going to say to God, what am I here for? What's my talent? What is it that I can contribute to society? So there is no such thing as you just leave the environment. Anna, guys, please, let's be realistic. Especially here in South Africa. When I realized that I'm not going anywhere, meaning I'm not going to the grave, I decided to try out this life thing. And guess what? That was in 2016. So basically, I've been, doing this life thing for only 9 years. Yes, 9 years. And it's also because I'm continuing with therapy. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know, my lip is dry here. So, okay, I'm not gonna cry. So when I think about it, it's sad, because my son is turning 7 years, and that only means I've lived only 2 years focusing on myself, striving for something. Like I said, trying out this life thing, because my son is 7 years. So if my son had came earlier, let's say he came in 2016, I would have not lived. I would have not found myself. But at least my son is getting the best of me. Lava is getting the best of me. They're healing me. And I have no words of encouragement. I don't. But I'm going to say that I'm going to say what I always say. That tiny bit of hope goes a long way. And I'm not going to say pray, guys. How do you pray when there's nothing to pray for? Yeah. And people say, no. You must pray. Pray for what? Pray for when I just want to go. You don't prepare anything if you're not going for a trip. You're not packing anything, And I started this healing journey. I started this healing journey, and I'm here. And this plan that I am doing, I hope that someone will find solace in it. Someone will say, I needed to hear this. And remember, I'm not encouraging you, because I'm saying there's nothing to be encouraged about when you're depressed. Just listen to me reading, and then you will figure out, and God will show up for you the way He's supposed to, or the way He's supposed to save you. And again, pray for what? Because I don't know what's wrong. Pray for what? It's painful. It's a painful feeling. It's just a pain of hollow. HOLLOW. Yes, that. But, however, I am here. I'm here. And I just shared my story. And I hope you get something from it. And like I say, it's tiny. Well, the Bible says faith. I think I can also say hope. As tiny as a mustard seed. It's tiny. Like here, at the back of your head. What do you guys say? Medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. You know, just that tiny hope in all that distress, in all that pain. And I think the pain gets worse because it's sitting on nothing. You know, when pain, if pain had to come now, my self-esteem is healthy, I am happy, you know, at least there is where pain can land and I'd be able to sort it out fast. For example, my grandmother's passing. Because sharp, it's easier for me to deal with the pain. So the pain of depression, there's nothing inside. Like sometimes I'd be like, let me feel my heart. But okay, guys, I know this was a long one. And I tried to make it 10 minutes, but there is no 10 minutes when it comes to, I don't think anybody can explain their experience. I think if you're explaining the theory of it, you can even do it in 5 minutes. But if you're going to speak about your story, it can even take an hour, and I'm not going to do an hour. So I hope you got something. I'm here. The key's here. And I hope you get some inspiration from me. And even though, you are so depressed, just think of me and how depressed I was. And I fought. I fought. I don't know how, but I fought. And it was that little hope. And of course, the best psychiatrist in the world. And medication and therapy. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Bye.